1996, the Spice Girls literally exploded on the music scene. They were five unknowns who went on to make history as one of the most successful pop groups of all time. When it ended, each of them embarked on solo careers with varying degrees of success. My first guest has proven herself to be the most enduring of the lot. She's just released her new solo album. It's her fourth. It's called This Time. And from that album, the new single, Carolina. A big welcome, please, for Melanie C.
Stay around, everybody let her down. Stole the light and the light and the child inside of her. She's so alone, running for the dream, take her far away from everything she knows and the way they make her feel. She leaves today and never look back, never lose track. Already strong, she's seen too much at 17. The past will fade with the future that she craves. Carolina, you travel so far, trying to escape the pain. Start again where you are. Carolina, you keep following your star. Nobody said you're beautiful the way you are. Finally you're free, where you wanna be, but it won't take long till it hits reality. The streets are cold, big bad city gonna eat you up. Had to survive, had to keep your sanity. Still feeling love, but she's never going home. Carolina, you travel so far, trying to escape the pain. Start again where you are. Carolina, you keep following your star. Nobody said you're beautiful the way you are. She tries to rest, all she needs is a warm caress. All she wants is happiness. Carolina, you travel so far, trying to escape the pain. Start again where you are. Carolina, you keep following your star. Nobody said you're beautiful the way you are. Carolina, you travel so far, you're trying to escape the pain. Start again where you are. Carolina, you keep following your star. Nobody said you're beautiful the way you are. Carolina. Thank you.
Okay, that's the single Carolina, which is not coming out here until June the 8th, but the album is out right now. Melanie C, delighted to... Please make yourself at home. It's good to see you, because the last time we met...
Look at me, I was nervous doing it.
You were great, absolutely
It's
great.
the first time I've done it.
Are you serious?
The very first time I've performed this song live on TV.
Well, I'm delighted you did it for us.
So it's always a bit...
The funny thing is, I didn't know I'd be seeing you so soon after I saw you the last time, because we met on New Year's Day on a beach in Portugal.
Yeah.
And you had just performed for 100,000 people in Albufeira the night before.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I was gobsmacked.
It was fantastic. What a way to bring in the new year. You know, performing live, it really is my number one, my true love. And being able to do that, it was such a great atmosphere. You can imagine on the beach. The actual stage was on the beach. And we were like looking out over the sea, and it was just fantastic.
And the thing is that no one would know in these islands how big you are over there. Just tell us, how big are you in Europe? Which countries are your countries?
Well, Portugal's a pretty biggie. My last album, Beautiful Intentions, was #1 there for 9 weeks, which was brilliant. At one point, I was outselling Madonna, which was very nice. And I've also had a lot of success in Germany and Austria, Switzerland. With this album, things are going great in Scandinavia as well. I've got a #1 single in Spain at the moment, so with the ballads.
So it's
from
all
the
happening
album.
over there, and then it's very quiet here.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's a few reasons. I think it's a very competitive market. You know, there's so much great British and Irish music. So I think it's quite tough. And also, I don't think so much here, but I think back home, back in England, can be a little bit of a stigma with being an
ex-Spice Girl?
Yeah, you know, I don't want to complain because I'm very fortunate and I really enjoy working in Europe and actually having a quiet life at home. But it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes because I don't think I always get a fair chance.
You mean if you release a single and it goes to the DJs, they just say, oh, Mel C. She's been there, done that, and they don't maybe don't even listen to it.
But you know what? Sometimes I think, fair enough, I've been in the business now for 11 years, I've had an amazing time, and, you know, if younger people are coming up and making great music, then that's fair enough. But I think I'm making the best music of my life now. Yeah. I really do.
Now, when you were successful with the Spice Girls, how many millions of records did you sell in the first couple of years?
I think it was something like 35 million on the first 2.
For 35 million?
Absolutely. They're kind of figures. You don't even sell those kinds of records anymore because the industry has changed so much with downloading and everything, so that will never be done again.
So the point is that you didn't actually have to do a solo thing at all. You could have just looked at the money in the bank and retired and raised sheep or whatever you're going to do. Yeah, exactly. Why did you decide that you wanted to put yourself out there, if you like, expose yourself to the possibility of failure?
I think because I'd had a taste. And for me, it really is all about performing. And I love making music, I love being in the studio and being creative, but getting out there, meeting the fans, and you know, the lifestyle, it's wonderful. You know, I get to travel all over the world, I meet so many great people that, you know, who'd want to give that up?
Now, after, or towards the end of the Spice Girls period, you had a really rough time. What was happening to you?
I think there was a lot of things, you know, through the Spice Girls. It was such a crazy time for all of us. Our lives changed really dramatically, really quickly. And I think we all dealt with things in our own way. And I was kind of, you know, I wasn't really looking after myself and I wasn't eating properly. And it just kind of escalated over the years. And I think a lot of the time, you know, it's incredible when I think about, you know, the kind of diet that I was on and how much I was training and we were touring and, you know, not getting much sleep and travelling everywhere. I think for a few years I was virtually living on adrenaline. And you can only do that for so long, you know, and there was a point where I knew in my heart that I couldn't continue in that way. But I was in denial and I just kept going and going and going until one day, you know, my body just said to me, you know what, this ain't going on anymore. And I just fell apart and I was diagnosed with depression and, you know, I admitted my eating problems and that was really my first step to getting help and to getting better.
When you admit your eating problems, that's one thing, but it doesn't mean that the editors will stop publishing pictures of you either going up or going down or skinny or fat or whatever. How did you react to that? I mean, no woman would like this, but when you're known the length and breadth of these islands and you pick up a magazine in the hairdressers and there you are, another maybe unkind shot.
Yeah, I think it's horrendous and to be honest with you, I think it's a million times worse now than it was then. You know, it was, I think the fascination with celebrity over the last 10 years has just exploded. You know, it's become insane. And at the time when there was things printed about me, to be honest with you, the first time that the newspapers printed that I'd put on weight and they started calling me quite cruel names, but to me it was a relief. Because I knew, and for them, I was waiting for them to pick up on it, you know, so it was like, oh, phew, at last it's out in the open. But because I was very honest about, you know, my eating disorders and suffering with depression, and I just thought, wow, you know, these journalists and editors, they really don't care. Because they were calling me terrible things. And I found at that time I was feeling so awful it couldn't make me feel any worse. You know, I was having such an internally, personally bad time. The external stuff was just, you know, something else.
Yeah. Having to look at all that kind of stuff, and then they started to, you know, question, speculate about your sexuality. And I don't know, you probably didn't know Tom then. Or maybe you did, I don't know. How long have you been with him?
5 years.
5 years. Okay, so pretty shortly after that. But to read that sort of stuff, knowing that, you know, you're not gay. Had you been gay, would you have said so, by the way?
Yeah, I think I've always been really honest, and I don't think there's obviously there's nothing wrong. You know, it's really nobody's business what your sexual orientation is, and I just found it. You know, at first it was one of those things where you just thought, oh, you know, there's always a gay one in a band. Oh, I suppose it's going to be me. And it was at a time when I had short hair, and you know, I've always had my tattoos and stuff, and I just thought, oh, stereotyping or what?
Yeah.
You know, but you know, looking back. It's just one of those things, isn't it? I think you have to be quite philosophical about the whole thing.
You've come through it. What was the secret to coming through?
I think fundamentally I'm a fighter inside. I've always been pretty tough and determined. And sometimes if somebody you know, gives me a challenge, it makes me, you know, gives me more of a fire in my belly. So really they weren't knocking me down, they were just giving me the fire to, you know, pick myself back up again.
This was happening through a period of transition for you. I mean, the Spice Girls kind of stopped, kick-started again briefly, and then finally finished. What was your reaction when it was all over, when you realised there would be no more Spice Girls? Was it relief or...?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It was, because you know, when we first started, we just, the 5 of us, you know, of course, because Jerry went before the rest of us parted ways. And, you know, we just had this vision that we shared, and we would go to the ends of the earth for each other and for our band, and the belief was so, so strong.
So girl power was not a marketing idea, this was real for you 5?
It grew from our experiences, from our early experiences in the industry, and, you know, it was tough because boy bands were selling loads of records and magazines and everything. Girl bands, sorry, you don't sell enough records, we're not interested. We were like, girl power, prove them wrong. And we did it, you know. But over the years, with everything going on and the success and the changes and the exhaustion and you know, we all wanted to go our own separate ways. And for me, personally, you know, my heart wasn't in it anymore, and it was time for change. And I had my own things to address, you know, and I needed my own space to do that.
And obviously you've done it very successfully, because you are the solitary surviving Spice Girl who has a successful solo career. I mean, Victoria's tried, and maybe because of David Beckham, that she's kind of, they say, why is she doing that? She doesn't need to do it. You know, they are a global brand.
Yeah, I think she, you know, I think she released 1 solo record, and, you know, she was working on a second, but I think she realised quite quickly that there was other things that she enjoyed more. You know, she works more now in fashion, which has always been a big love of hers. And, yeah, you know, all of the girls have enjoyed some success as solo artists, but the difference with me that I've found is I've worked a lot in Europe. That's something that some of the girls kind of neglected. And when you have all those fantastic territories, you got to keep going out there, and you know, and they didn't. And also the live thing as well, because none of the other girls have taught live.
Now you have the best of both worlds at the moment, because you can live in the UK with Tom and live happily ever after. You can be a huge celeb in Germany and Portugal and Spain and all of that, but you can have your private life. But would you trade places with Victoria, with all her money and Los Angeles? And
absolutely not. I mean, I think the way that her and David cope is incredible. You know, I've got a lot of respect for them.
You were saying she was the quiet one. Yourself and herself were the quiet ones.
Yeah, we were. When we were in the band together, I mean, I'm sure everybody remembers the Spice Girls a bit, don't you?
A lot.
You remember it a bit. And, you know, Victoria and I, we were quite quiet, weren't we? Because Melanie and Jerry were, you know, really the spokespeople. So, yeah, I think, you know, the big change in her life is crazy. But they handle it so well. And for me...
Going to LA to live in the home of the stalker, I mean, would you want it?
I just think, you know, it has to be for you. And I learnt quite quickly in the Spice Girls, we became very successful, we had a lot of attention from the media, and I just thought, you know what? I don't really like this. I like being on stage, I like making music, but the whole, you know, the celeb bit, I could leave that.
Now, you also had to do a lot of work yourself on the other side of the business. I mean, you're a performer and you love that, but you were, after a couple of #1s, dropped by your record label, which seems to me to be inexplicable. I mean, why would they kill a goose which was laying golden eggs? But they did. Now, that could have been the end of you again. But it wasn't. What did you do?
No. It was a new beginning. I started my own label in the UK, and I self-financed my last record and this record. And I think it's the best thing I ever did. It just, you know, creatively, it opened so many doors for me. It was really like a brand new start.
Yeah. When you looked at the business, though, from that side instead of the performer side, what did you discover?
That it's very, very intricate and very
Cynical.
expensive. Making records is so expensive, and you know, to record and to market and to promote and all these things you don't think of when some big record company's paying all the bills for you. So it's been really interesting, and I think it's been really good for me to have an understanding of what goes on.
I suspect the Spice Girls' whole experience was a mixed blessing for you, because you wouldn't be here today if it hadn't been for them.
Of course.
However, you're glad it's over.
Yes.
Any other regrets, like tattoos?
Well, some days it depends. If it's a lovely hot summer's day and I think, oh, I'll wear a little vest, I'll go out. But it gives a game away, you see. I can't go out incognito when all my tattoos are displayed, because everyone goes, oh, look, there's Melanie C. So sometimes a few regrets there. But now, as I'm getting a little bit older, I'm 33, and I start thinking about, you know, the next few years, in 10, 20 years' time, I'm going to look a bit funny, aren't I?
Oh, you mean like when you're a 55-year-old lady on the beach with your tattoos, people might just say...
Well, you know, the great thing about that is so many people of my generation have got tattoos.
Yeah.
So I think just our children and our grandchildren just think, weren't they ridiculous? You know, our parents and grandparents.
Yeah, they just remember their granny was a raver. That's you know, it's going to be good. One last thing.
Yes.
You are a Liverpool fan. Are you going to get to Athens?
No, I'm so busy. I'm so happy that we made it. I knew we were going to do it. And yay! I think we're going to win. I hope we're going to win. I know that AC Milan have really got a score to settle, but I just think we're untouchable in Europe, you know.
The optimist. You, tell the truth, you would have preferred Man United to be there so you could stuff them in Athens, isn't that right?
I would. I know there's a lot of Man United supporters here.
You're looking at one.
And, but there's a lot of Liverpool supporters too. So I think it would be wonderful. I mean, I'm sure you would have liked to, obviously you would have liked to have been there, but I don't think you would have liked the result, because we would have beat you.
You would have been. All right. It's lovely to see you again. Melanie C, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you. Grateful. All right, thanks to Melanie C for making the journey over to be with us tonight. Really enjoyed it.